August 6th, 2026. Dear Apprehensive Me. How many times a day do your nerves get the best of you? How do you handle an intense feeling of emotions running through your veins? For me, I don't. I pick at myself, I ruminate, I think of all the things that make me sad, all the things that make me feel bad, and I spiral. And today was one of those days. I mentioned yesterday that I've been feeling off, that I was waiting for this just thing to happen. And I thought that it was going to come to fruition next week. There's a meeting set. I wasn't necessarily for sure about all the ins and outs of the meeting, but it didn't sound good. And I was nervous. And instead of talking to somebody about it or working through it, it just sat with me and ate at me. To the point where today, when I woke up, I physically felt ill. My stomach was just in knots. I felt nauseous. I felt sick. And I knew that it wasn't going to be the day that I wanted it to be. So I made plans accordingly and laid back down. When I woke up the second time, I woke up to 2 different text messages asking me for the same thing. That meeting I was supposed to have next week needed to happen today at 10:30. Okay, well, if I wasn't already feeling sick, that made it worse. And so I get up and I get dressed and I kind of hope that taking a shower washes all the feelings away. It didn't work. I get up and I get dressed and I go wake my kid up and let my kid know, hey, this is happening. Need you there at 10:30. And then I go to the living room and I sit down and I pick. And I'm rubbing my fingers across my thumb and I can feel myself getting overly anxious and just building up. Like I want to explode. And I remember looking at my husband and saying, hey, I think I should take an anxiety pill. I'm not going to, but today seems like it would be a good day to take one. But I refused because if I can work through it on my own, I'm not going to medicate. And so I did what I usually do. Distract, distract, distract. I picked up my phone and I start scrolling through TikTok, which I thought would be the help that I needed. And it was, but it wasn't. So as I'm scrolling through TikTok, I noticed that one of my kiddos had tagged me in a post. And I don't think anything of it because if you have teenagers, you know that's just a thing. And I open it and I look at it and instantly begin to cry. The post is about being a second mom, which we talked about yesterday is something that I struggle with, not being a mom. And it's almost like she just knew that I needed it. I don't know if she actually heard the podcast yesterday or not, but I needed to hear those words. And to hear those words before this meeting was even bigger because I felt like I was losing one of my children. And I didn't know how to cope with it or what to do about it, how to handle it, what the next steps were going to be. But it felt good to know that I was still a mom. And so we get to the meeting and we sit down for it. And the meeting is completely not what I think it is. At all. I tried to be mentally prepared for it as best as I could, just to feel like I was being ambushed. It wasn't what I thought it was at all. It wasn't pleasant by any stretch of the imagination, but still different. I don't know if it was worse or better. I just know that it was different and it was gross and hard, scary, unnecessary. They took what probably could have been an email and made it a almost 2-hour meeting of just anxiousness for all parties involved. They created this sense of doom. And then it was like, oh, but by the way, just kidding, there's nothing wrong. We're going to leave everything the same way. To say that when that meeting ended, we were all emotionally drained is an understatement. I made plans to go get coffee with my kid. And while he went to go get dressed, I stepped out and talked to my husband because I know that he was also going through big emotions. And told him we were going to go get coffee. He was going to go lay down because, again, it was a lot. So me and the kiddo, we went and got coffee, and we were able to make jokes with each other, but I knew it still felt heavy, because how could it not? How could it not? And so we went and got our coffee, and we sat and we talked, and I went to put the TV on, because again, my go-to is to put the TV on and just kind of let the ID channel relax my mind. And I just felt exhausted. Like, couldn't keep my eyes open, kind of exhausted. Some random commercial came on, and in the commercial, the guy's face was super weird, and I remember being super weirded out by it. And I turned to my kid, and I'm like, that was awkward. He agreed, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go to bed. Like, I'm just done. So I get up, and the dogs come with me, and I go to my bedroom, and he goes to his bedroom, and I think all of us literally just passed out. It was just everything caught up at once, and we were all just done. I don't think I've ever fallen asleep so quickly as I did today. And I'm known to fall asleep easily. It's not a problem for me to lay down and go to sleep when my body's tired. But like, before I hit the pillow, I think I was asleep. I could not tell you what happened in between falling asleep and and climbing into bed. I remember getting into bed. I remember telling my husband I was going to lay down, and that was it. Gone. For the rest of the day. I want to say that we got up at about 5. I was just done. He was done. I went to go check on my kiddo because I was hungry, and same thing. Just done. None of us functioning was not a thing. It wasn't a thing. And somehow, in the midst of all of that, we're expected to put our worlds back together as if nothing happened. I've gotten messages and phone calls about scheduling meetings, scheduling appointments, as if today wasn't one of the hardest days we've had. And that was out of our control. And that's what it's like to be involved in the system in any way, shape, or form. As a kid, as an adult, as a foster parent, as a kinship placement, as all of it. You are left in the dark for so many things. And then as people decide what should happen with your life, you patiently and anxiously just wait. To the point where I felt sick today. To the point where I'm already exhausted, even though I slept. To the point where I will probably go to bed tonight and knock out. To the point where I may take an anxiety pill tonight to go to bed anyways, because I'm that much on edge. If I feel this way, and I'm barely able to manage my feelings, how is my 16-year-old feeling? How is he able to process the fuckery of what happened today? And I think the answer to that is none of us know how to. None of us know how to start to fix the rift that today caused. We know that we are going to have to. We know that we're going to have to do something. Where do you begin? How do you repair something where you feel like the bottom of it just fell out? People use the metaphor of the piece of paper, right? Where the idea is you come with this crisp sheet of paper and someone hands it to you and they ball it up. And they ball it up some more. And they keep balling it up, balling it up, and balling it up. And then, at some point in time, they apologize to the piece of paper, in which they're straightening it out. But you can never get the wrinkles out. Those don't go away. What do? In a perfect world, we wave a magic wand and everything would just go back to the way that it is expected to be. This is not a perfect world. This is a world full of people with emotions and thoughts, with pain and trauma. It's a world where you have to expect the unexpected and then expect some more. It's a place where even the things that seem the most certain are shaky. How do you raise a family in something like that? How do you make it through the day with something like that? And I'm not even talking about on like a global standard, because obviously, if you're in the US, things are all kinds of rocky and shaky right now. I'm not even taking into account how scary all of that is. I'm simply talking about the fact that I have people in and out of my house telling me what we can do, what we can't do, how we can do it, when we can do it, where we can do it, who we can do it with. And if they don't like it, they get to rearrange my whole life and I'm expected to just flow with it. Again, we expect that from grown-ass adults. And then we're telling children to also be able to deal with it while still being children. I'm not going to treat you like an adult because you're not an adult, but I expect you to act like an adult when it comes down to me rearranging your life. Today was hard. The days coming are going to be hard. There's going to be a lot of work that has to happen to make things even remotely calm. And we understand that. Understanding it isn't the same thing as it being simple to manage. It isn't the same thing as being able to maneuver it. Again, there's this concept that because you understand something, you must go along with it. Those aren't the same thing. I can understand something mentally, understand the steps and the importance of it, and my emotions will still say, stop, that doesn't make any sense. That's human nature. That's mental health. And today I heard adults tell my child over and over again, well, you got to make it work. Well, you got to make it work. Well, you got to make it work. And his response to that wasn't a, no, I'm not going to do it. It's a, you're asking a lot of me right at this moment. You're asking me to move mountains that were just shattered by an earthquake. And that's what we expect. We expect everyone to just say, well, now that you see the logic in it and why it should happen, you should just be okay with it. That doesn't erase feelings. Yes, I get it. Some things don't take into account emotion. We live in a society where we are very against emotion being a part of a lot of things. And yet, it is human nature to be driven by emotion. So, I don't know. For those of you who have your families intact, hug them a little tighter. Be thankful that you get to decide what happens in your family. Be grateful for the fights that you get to have that just end between the two of you. The words unspoken. Have those conversations. Have the hard conversations before someone has them for you. Because once that happens, once you let somebody in there to have the conversations for you, it's too late. You lose control. And it's hard to get that back. It's hard to get that back. So, my bite of pie today looked like surviving. I recognize that I did not have the capacity to deal with whatever was being thrown at me. And that regardless of whether I was capable of doing it or not, I had to show up and do it anyways. I watched my kid show up and do it anyways. I watched my husband show up and do it anyways. My bite of pie. And then I listened to my body when my body said, we were done for the day. We can't take any more. So, again, when I tell you your bite of pie doesn't have to look like running a marathon or solving the cure for cancer, sometimes it looks like we just got out of bed. I mean that. Today, I got out of bed when all I wanted to do was hide in it. And at some point in time, I went back and hid in it. That's okay. It doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't make you the disappointment. It means that you're somebody who's making progress. You're growing. You took a step. That's what growth is. So I hope whomever is listening, wherever you're listening, you recognize your growth. It's growth to show up to this podcast every day and hear things that you recognize in yourself and still say, hey, I'm growing. It's a step forward to acknowledge I have those feelings or I have those things I need to work on. That's growing. To just be able to acknowledge the elephant in the room is growth. The next step would be to figure out how to get the elephant to move. You can't move an elephant out of a room overnight. I can't. I'm strong, but that seems like an impossible feat if I don't know how to train an elephant. We're not taught how to train our mental health. We're barely trained and taught how to wade through it. So, give yourself that grace. Give yourself the acknowledgement that you're growing, and sometimes the best way that you can. And then just remember, today is another page in the story. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be written. And before you close your journal tonight, ask yourself, what was your bite of pie today? Until tomorrow, love you loud.